Hello, my tactful troop of talented tech trainees. Welcome back to the channel. Congratulations, you've done it. You found the champ dog. So today we're jumping back into some more TwilioQuest. So this footage you're about to see is actually filmed later in the day, the same day as the last video that I put up, where if you remember I was a little bit grumpy. But by this point I've shaken it off. We get back in there and finish on a bit more of a high note. So, you know, that's something to look forward to. But before we get in there, you all know what we have to do. Go get yourself a cup or a mug of your favorite beverage, get in here, and let's have a drink. I'm on jasmine tea today. I've been hitting the coffee a little too hard, and yeah, it's been kind of ruining my day a little bit. I've been getting like a little tense tightness around the chest, you know, so I'm trying to cut it down and just go for tea today. But yeah, that's about all I got to say to you guys, and thanks for tuning in. We're gonna jump in, show you some TwilioQuest. Enjoy. Okay, so it just finished this dusty old chest situation. I was deeply unsatisfied with how we ended up resolving it, but we're just going to try and shake that off and just hope that everything, you know, just makes a bit more sense as we get a little bit further through. Like, there's going to be things that we don't understand, and it kind of looks like there's some things in the suggested code from TwilioQuest that's wrong, for want of a better word. But it could also be something in my application. Like, I don't know. Like, I could be using a slightly different syntax to what they're suggesting, and maybe that's affecting something. I really do not know. If tree, then bridge. Oh, yep. Learn to branch conditional logic in multiple directions as you extend the bridge toward the botanist. The final bridge separating you from the botanist is also disabled. Similar to the west bridge, this one has failed because the tree life detector is underconfigured. This time you'll need to create an enhanced version of the tree life detector script to extend the bridge. To-do list. Create a file called enhancedlifedetector.js. Print out the appropriate tree life status depending on which command line argument your script receives. See table below. Create a file called enhancedlifedetector.js in your code folder. This program will take a single command line argument, a single digit number indicating the current life status of a tree. It then prints out a human readable string of text indicating the current status of the tree. Nearby you see a mapping of tree life status IDs to human readable strings with more statuses than just alive and other. 1 is flowering, 2 is shedding, 3+ is other. When your script is executed, it should print out the proper human readable string of text based on the ID number that is passed in. If the script is executed like this, it should print the string shedding. If the number passed in is not 0, 1 or 2, your script should print other. To complete this challenge, you'll need to employ more complex Boolean logic than you did previously. Click the help section for more details. Once your enhanced lifedetector.js script behaves in this way, click the hack button to validate your work. As usual, we're going to take a little pause here and see if we can get through this. So on the help page, it shows us about these else-if statements, which if you're doing this at home, I suggest you do this before you try to do the dusty old chest, because you can work your way around the suggested scripting in the dusty old chest using else-if modifiers. I saw on Discord some people doing that, and I almost went that route myself, but I really wanted to get it to work the way that I had originally intended. But yeah, basically all that to say, I have come across these else-if statements before. So basically what we're going to need to do is set it up as like if value is 0, then this, else if value is 1, then this, else if value is 2, then this. If I just use if and else, it won't work the way that we want it to. If and then else, the else will only trigger if the if above it doesn't trigger, whereas else if, it will go through all of these before getting to the final Basically, it won't go through it sequentially in the way that you think it would if you just use else. Whereas else if means that it will go through everything until it gets to this last else. And then, yeah, so this last else. So I'm struggling to explain what I mean. So we understand the if statement. If this, then do this, then that. Like if this value is Leonardo, then print out the word leads. If we had just else here, Ninja Turtle equals Donatello, console then print out does machines. If that was just else, then basically it would stop there, not follow through these other commands, and just anything else would present no response. Whereas to go through multiple options, you need to use this else if command. So Leonardo, do this, or else if it's Donatello, do this, or else if it's Raphael, do this, or else if it's Michelangelo, do this. And just else here is like anything else not specifically connected to the thing directly above this, not a Ninja Turtle. So you've covered all the possible Ninja Turtles, so this last one you can use an else. Because, yeah, anything else isn't a Ninja Turtle. If any of these had been else instead of else if, it would just fault at that one and not actually get through the whole list and count them all. Anyway, let's go slap some code together and get past this challenge. Okay, so we're going to see if our first set of code has worked here. Okay, so that one was actually really simple and straightforward. I basically copy-pasted the start of the previous tree life detector where it sets the variables, and then copy-pasted the else if chain and just changed obviously the Ninja Turtle references to the appropriate number and tree status references. So that one was actually really straightforward, went off without a hitch. I feel like the else if chain is a little easier to understand than the dusty old chest thing, which is actually based on a fairly well-known programming challenge, which I could probably have I could have done an else if chain to work that out. It just doesn't seem like the most elegant way to do it. I guess it really doesn't matter how elegant it is if it gives you the appropriate results, but yeah. Let's go speak to this grumpy old man. Well, it's about time. Here, take my access code for Beam 2 in the main experiment room if you must. I will remain a moment longer to collect my research materials before I evacuate. I'll admit that you're not as hopeless as I originally expected. You got a funny way of showing gratitude. What, do you want a medal for demonstrating you're not a complete simpleton? I have none to give, so my acknowledgement of your not useless programming skills will have to suffice. I don't know, honestly, after the difficulty I had with the chest thing, I feel like my programming skills are pretty useless. Okay, so I can't actually see anywhere what his password is, but I assume if I just go up here, there'll be some sort of prompt. Use the botanist activation code and your knowledge of Boolean logic to enable this stasis beam. Okay, let me just see if I can find this nonsense out. There's nothing in my inventory. You already have my access code for Beam 2 in the main experiment room. I already have his access code, yeah, but I don't know what it is. Like, the game didn't actually show me at any point. So I don't know how useful that is. Using the botanist's activation code, you access the controls for this status. Right. Okay, so it's just an automatic thing. I can't open this up without the code. Cool, makes sense. After running a quick diagnostic routine, you see that the laser is missing a key piece of functionality, a script that sorts strings in alphabetical order. You'll need to rewrite this sorting script in order to restart the laser. To-do list. Create a file called sortorder.js. It must take 2 command line arguments which you must compare. Your script should print -1, 0, or 1 as described below, based on alphabetical order. Getting things sorted. In your code folder, create a script called sortorder.js. This script will take 2 command line arguments, the pair of strings that should be compared to see which one comes first alphabetically. Letter casing is not important. To test your script, you'd execute it like this: node sortorder.js catsdogs. Your script should determine if the first string is before, after, or in the same position, equal, to the second string alphabetically. For each case, you should print out a number with console log as described below. When the first argument is earlier in the alphabet than the second, your script should print -1. When the first argument is the same as the second, your script should print 0. When the first argument is later in the alphabet than the second, your function should print 1. When your script implements this comparison functionality, click the hack button to restart this laser. Show help. After learning about conditional logic in the South Wing, you're ready to take on this challenge. Create a file named sortorder.js in your code folder, located here. Using the following code as a starting point. Your code will need to print out one of 3 numbers, based on whether the first value is before, the same as, or after the second value alphabetically. If your script were executed like this, it should print -1 since cats comes before dogs alphabetically. If it were executed like this, cats, it should print 0 since they're equivalent. If it was dogs cats, it should print 1 since dogs comes after cats. Your code will need to compare strings with Okay, that's a typo. Compare strings with alphabetically. Alphabeticality? I'm just trying to think, like, obviously alphabetically is a word, but putting alphabetically into this sentence doesn't make the sentence make sense. Your code will need to compare strings with alphabetically as demonstrated here. I think it should just be compare strings alphabetically as demonstrated here. Cool. Sorry, my brain's a bit unusual lately, and just little things like this where I can't take a thing at face value are really tripping my brain up at the moment. Also, you need to convert the strings to the same case before comparison using 2 lowercase. This should be very similar to the tasks you needed to complete in the south wing of the lab. Go back and reference that code if you need to. Click hack when your script behaves as described in the objective. You can do this. Okay, so I'm actually going to need to go. I am going to need to go into these online resources to learn more. So one of the things that I wanted to learn getting into this is, can you just use TwilioQuest to learn? And so far it's really looking like the answer is no. You need to use some of the external resources. They provide them to you, like links to helpful articles and stuff, but you can't just blunder your way through the game and figure it out. You do need to read some of these articles. So it's not telling me how to compare something alphabetically. The difficulty that I've found, and why I've been shying away from reading some of those articles, is they have gone through a slightly different order and have some different assumptions about how they're teaching you compared to TwilioQuest. This isn't a criticism of Twilio because, you know, they're putting this out for free and they're still releasing content. Like, you know, I don't expect, you know, you have to keep your expectations in line with what you're paying for here. Like, they're providing a free service. But my experience would be better if the people who wrote the article were the same people who were writing the program, so that they're teaching things in the same order, using the same sort of language, and share same assumptions. All of these external articles, there's just little... It's hard to explain without you actually like playing the game and then looking at the articles, but there's basically different assumptions in terms of what you know, how you describe things, what order you've been learning things. There's like different assumed knowledge in the game versus in the articles that you have to link to, but you know, that's fine. If this were something I was paying for, I would expect this to be more cohesive. And that's also a little bit of my problem with the dusty old chest thing, is it just required knowledge. It required knowledge that I didn't have yet because I haven't read through all of these articles. And to make sense of the articles requires some different assumptions and mental approaches to what the game has so far given you. And without still knowing enough to go back and assess it, my subjective experience has still been there was something wrong, either with the actual program not performing what it was meant to do, which seems to have happened for at least one other person online, because their code worked. It worked for me. It worked for other people in the Discord, but it wasn't working for them. Similarly, the code that I wrote, it worked in PowerShell. It didn't work in TwilioQuest. So there could be an actual like little glitch in the program there, or something that sometimes happens. And I still think there's some minor like grammatical and typing errors in the suggested code sometimes. So just bear that in mind as you're going through the game here. Anyway, I'm going to smash that pause button and I'm going to come back with some code and see if it... Okay, so I have something that I think might work. Let's jump on in and find out. Yes! So I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of variables, which has been one of the things that I'm struggling with. Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes things just make sense and work, and sometimes they don't. As I said, variables I've struggled with. But because sometimes they don't seem to function the way that I expect. Yeah, but I found something that worked and it makes sense to me. I feel good. I'm having a positive emotional experience in response to getting that right. I'm feeling a sense of accomplishment. That's pretty neat. Cool. So it doesn't look like I can do much else now other than try to get through here. Learn to create a function, a reusable chunk of JavaScript code to progress further in this lab. Okay, let's do this. Oh gosh, what was I even doing? I hit pause while I was doing something, and then I've been away for like 20 minutes. I went to go check something with my wife, and then I went to get a cup of tea, and I made my mother-in-law a coffee, and then we were talking about books, and digital life problems, like trying to learn how to operate new programs and stuff. And yeah, that led into a thing about the novel Neuromancer. Oh, okay. How do you even function? Amid the destruction of the accident, you notice a new security barrier blocking off the interior wings of the lab. You examine the security of this barrier and realize that it is powered by a JavaScript function that determines if the barrier's lasers are on or off. Pardon me. You'll need to override this function to disable the laser barrier. Create a file called laserfunction.js in your code folder. Inside this file, create a JavaScript function called getLaserSetting. This function should return a string object with the value of off. Once your code is ready, click the hack button to override the laser command function. To-do list, create a file called laserfunction.js, create a function called getLaserSetting that returns the string off, and hack when finished. The goal of this exercise is to learn how to create a function in JavaScript. A function is a chunk of reusable code that you can call again and again to perform a specific task. In many of the examples you've seen so far, you may have noticed that we are using a function that is built into JavaScript called console.log. The job of this function is to print a string of text to the terminal window. To clear this barrier, you'll need to create your own function. Okay. I understand that series of words arranged in that order. Create a file called laserfunction.js in your code folder. Your code folder is located here. I don't really need to be reminded of this every single challenge, you know? In this file, you must create a function called getLaserSetting. Here's some code you can use as a starting point. It already has the function defined, but it's currently returning the wrong value. You'll need to change the contents of the function declared to satisfy this objective. The open and close curly braces denote the start and the end of the code inside the function. Okay. Only code written between those curly brackets will be executed as part of your function. Your function must return the correct value for the laser setting, as described in the objective. Use what you've learned about variables to make the necessary change. When your function works as directed in the objective tab, click the hack button to validate your work. Useful links. Cool. So I'm going to have a look at this code. Function getLaserSetting const setting equals 42. I'll need to change that line. Return setting. So variable current setting equals getLaserSetting console.log. The current laser setting is plus current setting. So, I mean, I could totally cheat and just set current setting to off. Is it off? String value. So, I think I just need to change 42 to off. And it should work. That seems way too simple, but I'm going to try that. I want to figure out a way to actually show you guys some of the code that I'm doing as well. Now that things are getting more complex, I feel like it's going to be increasingly dissatisfying for you guys for me to just hit pause and come back with the solution and not show you anything. I did say originally that kind of defeats the purpose of this because you should go through and learn. But you're also not really seeing me learn or getting an idea for how difficult this is or isn't, different approaches, etc. I don't know. I'm still sorting some stuff out in my own mind, but I feel like there might be a little more value by actually showing you some of my work. But I'll need to explore my screen capture setup to be able to do multiple windows. I know it's possible. I've done it before. I just can't remember how. I wish this brain fog would, sod off. Okay, so as I said, I think I just need to change 42 to off. So we're going to try that. I'm going to smash pause and we'll see if it works. So let's see if that's as straightforward as I thought it was. No. There's an error executing your JavaScript code. Please ensure that you can run it from the command line successfully and try again. Here's the error we got. Off is not defined. I think I know what I need to do here. I've encountered that error before. Success. So I just needed to put the single speech mark around off. That was very simple. That was very, very simple. Cool. I'm not going to argue. It worked the way I thought it would. Let's pretend I learned something there. Function arguments. Learn to create a function that accepts arguments so your reusable bits of code can produce different results with different inputs. Let's do it. Winning at arguments. This security barrier is also malfunctioning, and before long you can see why. Your old pal Glenn in IT had configured the security barrier to only shut down if asked nicely. The Glenn IT thing is a reference to a previous challenge where I had to ask nicely to turn off a laser barrier. To clear this barrier, you will need to write a function that takes arguments, also called parameters, and execute some basic Boolean logic. Read the help section for more information on function arguments. If you need help on using Boolean logic, you may want to conquer the challenges of the lab's south wing first. To-do list. Create a file called politelasers.js. Create a function called getLaserSetting that takes a single string argument. If the argument is please, return the string off. Otherwise, return the string on. Click hack when finished. Similar to the previous barrier, this one is powered by a JavaScript function that determines if the barrier's lasers are on or off. You'll need to override this function to disable the laser barrier. Create a file called politelasers.js in your code folder. Inside this file, create a JavaScript function called getLaserSetting, just as you did in the last challenge. This time, your function must return a different value based on the first argument to the getLaserSetting function. If the first argument is the string please, return off. If the first argument is anything else, return on. Once your code is ready, click the hack button to override the laser command function. So where is my actual, laser? Let's look at my code for the previous one. What? No, I just clicked the wrong thing, guys, bear with me. Okay, let's take a look at the help screen. The goal of this exercise is to learn how to create a function that takes arguments, also called parameters. An argument is a piece of input data your functions can use to produce different outputs. Create a file called politelasers.js in your code folder. Your code folder is located here. In this file, you must create a function called getLaserSetting. Here is some code you can use as a starting point. It already has the function defined, but doesn't yet work as described in the objective. Magic word. In the objective, it says your function should return the string off when the first argument to the function, magic word in the example above, is the string please. It should return on with any other input. When your function works as directed in the objective, click the hack button to validate your work. Okay. So, function getLaserSetting if magic word so I think I replace where it says the magic word here, I think I replace that with the word please. I think I return on. I replace what should this be with off. Man, I'm struggling today. Ugh. Okay, so this is going to be my last challenge for this video, but I'm going to test those handful of assumptions that I've made. Compare to... let's compare to my other little piece of code. Which for some reason has shut down. So we're going to save this as What was that name again? Oh, wrong window. I've got a million windows open on my PC right now. Politelasers.js, wonderful. Wonderful, how wonderful. And now we're going to go into PowerShell and test if this works. Now, did it give me a straight up test phrase? Okay, so node polite lasers.js, please. Oh, typo. I wrote polite laser instead of polite lasers. How foolish. How incredibly foolish. The current setting is on. This isn't working, guys. This is not working. The way I wanted it to. So I don't understand some of these. Node. Current laser setting is on. Why? Why? Why you do this? Okay, this is going to take a little bit longer than I thought it would, so I'm going to slap that pause button. Okay, I think I've done it. So, the magic word here, this is obviously meant to be please. Return, what should this be, is obviously off. On is on. So, I just needed to change this string here where it says right now, also needed to be changed to please. So variable, so function, get laser setting, magic word. If magic word is please, return off. Otherwise, return on. The variable current setting equals get laser setting, please. Okay, yeah, no, I understand what it's doing. So one of the things suggested on the Discord is to actually go through the instructions that you've written in your code and see how a process goes through it. I didn't really understand what this line meant, but actually going through it reasonably like that, like I kind of understand. So the variable current setting equals this function get laser setting. And because I didn't have the please here and The whole point is like, yeah, get laser setting, magic word. Because I had right now in there, that's where I needed to say please. So it returned off. And then I tried just deleting that and leaving it blank, and it returned off. And then I did it with please, and it seems to work. So let's check. Success. So I don't understand it well enough to articulate it to you, my viewer, but hopefully following along at home, you can kind of see what I mean. I'm starting to get the hang of a couple of things. There's a lot of things I still don't understand, and obviously taking a 1 or 2 month. So according to my YouTube, the last video went up about a month ago, and it was several weeks between when I filmed that and actually put it up. So it's probably about 2 months since I played any of this. So that 2 month break didn't help. So hopefully from here it'll get a little easier. But I think we've done enough for today. We're at about 35 minutes, so yeah, that's okay. We're going to cut it off here. I'm getting pretty tired, and I'm sure you're noticing my articulation is getting worse and worse. So we're going to call that a day. I'm going to thank you guys for tuning in. You've been brilliant. I hope to catch you in the next video. If you are enjoying the content, please hit like, hit subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, hit me up in the comments. I have been very slow to reply, but I do reply. So, yeah. Thank you. We will have more content coming out. And again, if you want to make sure you don't miss it, subscribe, hit the notifications. You know how it all works. Do the YouTube stuff. I've been the Champ Dog. You've been brilliant. I'll catch you guys later.